Hello, everybody. So we're here to talk today about PHP development with the Laravel framework. I don't know, how do I slide it to the next one? So my name is Monique Oliveira. I have been freelancing for over 10 years. And before that, I worked with a couple of different web development shops here. And my main experience has been backend in a lot of different PHP frameworks. I've worked with Cake, Zend, and now currently working with Laravel. I have been working for a nonprofit in Tampa the past 10 years. We're doing an app that's Laravel on the back end. The front end is Angular. And then we have some AI in there, which is supposed to recommend resources to needy families. So I think let's go over a little bit about what is Laravel. So Laravel, it's a model view controller framework based on Symfony. It's similar to Zen Code Igniter, other frameworks out there. So for those of you that haven't heard, it's completely free and open source. It's currently on version 9. It's been around over 10 years. So it's hard that people haven't heard of it, but I know some other people that are newer developers maybe haven't heard of it. But there's a great community, great contributors because it's been around for a long time, and uses Composer to manage the PHP packages, which is a little bit different than other dependency managers that keep the resources loaded globally. All the resources, the dependencies are loaded inside the project. So it's good when you're managing different projects. So here's what we're gonna go. I'm gonna wanna go over today. Why I choose Laravel and how it's currently being used. A little bit about the MVC architecture pattern, how it's used in Laravel. A little bit about the blades and views and the templating engine that's in there. What is Artisan, which is the command line tool used in Laravel. A little bit about the routes middleware and the Eloquent ORM that exists in Laravel. And then I actually have it already installed the demo, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how the package comes out of the box already. So anyways, when I was preparing for this talk, I'm like, does anybody want to learn PHP? And is anybody still working with PHP out there? And so I found out that actually PHP is still the most used server-side language. It's supposedly used in 79% of websites and web applications everywhere. So I think it's still very widely used, but the love for PHP has been kind of dwindling the past few years. And market share of all the pull requests from GitHub last year was only 5%. So it's been down for like 10% for maybe 7-8 years ago. And Laravel in turn takes, it's still used in about 2% of worldwide, top pages. So I think that Laravel is really popular because it's really easy to get started with it. There's an expressive database abstraction layer. There's a lot of tools that are built in and work really well, like queues and schedule jobs and unit integration testing. So to get started, I actually just downloaded the demo this week, and it takes about 4 minutes to download the whole framework and package. And now it comes in a pretty little Docker desktop app. So builds out the image for you. The application was running for me in 5 minutes, the application running. So it is pretty smooth, and they've worked out, a lot of the kinks. So it used to not be this easy to set things up. But if you don't want to use Docker, you can also install it locally. You just need to have Composer installed, and there's another, an application. There's a whole installation documentation on it. So it's also easy, but you do need to have PHP 8 version installed locally in order to get it to work, because the latest version is compatible with PHP 8. And this is your .env file, which this is how it pretty much comes out of the box. the database was already set up with the user. So it was pretty cool. It was already, everything was set up. This you should commit to your Git. So you should add this to Git ignore, and you should have one in your production environment and your development environment, a different one, your environments. And you're going to set your variables and your passwords on there. And this lives folder of your project. And then a little bit about the model view controller architecture in Laravel. All your models are going to live in a folder called app models. That's where all your data storage integrity, all your queries are going to live. All the views are going to be in the views and resource views folder, all the views and blades and all the templates. And then app HTTP folder is going to contain all your controllers and your middleware. And basically the controller is going to interpret the input from the user and pass it on to the model and manipulate the views and the models. And this is a little bit more about how the project set up from the get-go. So the app is going to be your backend stuff and your configuration. Database is going to have your migration and your seeders. Public is going to have your public resources and your JavaScript and your CSS files. And then routes is going to be your API routes and your web routes. And then in the root of your project, you're going to have the .env, which is your environmental config, and your PHP dependencies and your node dependencies in the front end of your project. So a little bit about the views and Blade templating. So Blade is actually a templating engine that comes packaged with Laravel. And so this is what a typical Blade is going to look like. And the variables are all rendered with curly braces. They're all in, you have to pass them in, and they're translated with the curly braces. And it's basically, you can extend and you can inherit other layouts. And there's a lot of, they're typically stored in the resource view directories. And there's a lot of logic, kind of same logic as PHP that works inside the blades. So you can do if else according to whatever data you pass in. And you can also use plain PHP. And then as I was researching this, I'm like, does it work with other JavaScript frameworks? So yes, so if you do want to use, because I know I was thinking it would conflict with other JavaScript frameworks that also use the curly braces syntax. But it does work well with frameworks, so it's compatible, and it's very extensive. But for example, in my own world application, I'm only going to use this for mail, and my notifications. So I do use Blades extensively, but only for the mail and the notification inside my app, because typically the front end is going to have another different framework, another JavaScript framework in the front end altogether. So in our application, we use Angular, and we have a custom build API that talks to the Laravel backend. But I did found out that Laravel does have two starter kits. There's a bunch of different ones, but there is a couple kits. One that it looks really cool, which is called Laravel Breeze, and it scaffolds your application with your routes, controls, and views that you need to register and authenticate your users. So basically, out of the box, you have the authentication and login and all your sessions set up for you. And then there's another starter kit that looked really interesting, which is React. So you basically, right from the box, you have single page app functionality built in and working. It is working via this inertia JavaScript. And I don't have experience, a lot of experience. I haven't heard of this inertia, but I think it basically works as a middleman that communicates between Laravel in the front end, React, Angular, whatever language you choose for the front end. And it looks really, really easy to install and get it to work functionally. So this looks pretty interesting. And then this is Artisan, is the command line tool that's used in that's built into Laravel. So this is my exact face when I'm using the tool, because it's It's really, really cool. It generates a lot of code for you, generates a lot of your code structure, generates all the files that you need to do migration, seeding, unit testing, and all of that. And I think it makes you a better developer because you're gonna have, you know, all the comments on there, all the structure in place, and all the files are they're supposed to do. So it takes a lot of thinking, and it helps people keep their projects, you know, organized and keep the logic where it's supposed to go. So I really love this thing. This is a pretty all-encompassing list of all the most common. This is all the commands that are built in. But I wanted to show you guys some of the commands that I use, you know, a lot. This is something that I use every day. But you can make controllers and migrations and models and seeders. And it creates all the basic files for you. You can just extend it to whatever you need. And then that takes me into the actual custom commands. So the Artisan tool, it's pretty extensive, and you can create custom commands for your application. So in your kernel, for example, you would add you can simply add the schedule with your command name and when it's supposed to go out. So basically, in a minute, you have a cron job that's scheduled to go out. It checks like your file, you know, every minute, and sends out whatever you have on the schedule there. So it helps. We use it to send out, you know, text messages and email notifications, whatever needs to go out daily, weekly, and it's very extensive. There's a lot of different commands to different options of when and you would send things out. So this is a very cool application. And then routing, I love how Laravel does routing. And of course, I'm kind of limited to all of these PHP frameworks. I'm sure it's interesting other frameworks do it differently. But even when you look at the routing file, this is an actual screenshot from my own application. But basically, you specify the exact HTTP request. So if it's a GET request, and you specify the actual controller name and the function inside the controller, and then the middleware. So it's very easy to see, you know, where that action is going and what it's actually implementing. So you can just add a route for every different request method, get, post, fetch, and delete. And it just directs you to where you want to go. And you can pass in, you know, user variables on the last one. I don't know if it's readable, maybe it's a little too small, but you can pass in variables to that controller before you get to define what you need to send back, and define the middleware to see what kind of user it is. Is it authenticated? Is it logged in? Is it is the session valid? So it is pretty cool. And then the middleware. So basically, you can filter out all the HTTP requests and entering through the middleware. You define the rules inside the kernel, and then you can add all of these rules, whatever you define, inside the router. So before the user accesses that route, then we can, you know, check if the token is valid, and then return the correct view or a notice of some sort. And so the last piece of the last part that I want to talk to you guys about, in Laravel, there's something called Eloquent RM, which is object relational mapping. And this makes it very easy and cool and readable to manipulate your data. So you create a model. So this will be kind of simple model with the right attributes, whatever you want to have in that model. And then, for example, new article, and then you assign the attributes to that article and you save. And then that becomes the actual query that you're going to run, that actually runs. And so this, I love this piece of Laravel, this part of Laravel, because I think it makes the queries, you know, readable, easy to implement, and a lot in easy to write, easy to remember, easy to implement, and makes your code a lot easier to read. So I really like this part of this is the SQL query builder. So after you implement the model, there's many different ways of accessing that data and accessing the so there's a lot of different queries built in, and it all works dynamically inside Laravel. You can chunk the results of the data that comes back, and you can even do raw query expressions inside the dynamic loading of the SQL builder. But this works really well out of the box, and makes it very easy to manipulate the data. And then for the relationships, this is how Laravel does it. You define the relationship inside the model. For example, I'm inside the user model, and then I add in a function called posts, which is basically a link to the post models. And by defining that relationship right there, I can then query the user models. I can create, I can update, I can delete by simply linking to the user posts. So this also makes it easy to define relationships, maintain the relationships, and it makes it simple to make calls on it, on both of the models. So these are like dynamic properties that are available in Laravel. And that's it. I wanted to show you guys a little bit about how the demo. So I installed the demo yesterday. Actually, it did take just a few minutes, but after I installed it, this is what it looks like inside your Docker. There's six containers that got created, and this Laravel test is the main one. And I have it open here. And so in here is where inside the container is where you would run all the PHP commands. So you can just do PHP Artisan. I think it's lists. Yeah. So this shows you everything that you can do to create models and manipulate and queue things and clear the caches, the schedule. So these are all basically all the available commands that are inside the app. So for example, I would have, like, I don't know if I have this. Yeah, this one I've already done. So this is how the project looks on my end. This is where my controllers would go. This is middleware and the models. And everything is kind of out of the box. I did a couple things yesterday. And I built this to-do list, and I was surprised. Like I said, it was kind of working out of the box. So it's really cool. You can connect to the database locally, and you can see the things that get modified. So here, I'm show you guys a little bit about the routes. So this is what a typical route would look like. where you want to go, the actual controller, and the name of the function that you're calling. And this would be, for example, my controller, and then the method. And so it makes it pretty easy to get started with, writing code and writing clean code. And I guess that's all I had for you guys. Any questions?
Would you be able to run through the demo really quick? I know that you just sort of went over what the tools are and what is accessible through the demo, but could you run it like through a beginner's eyes? I'm a beginner.
Well,
don't know anything about coding.
yeah, no, it takes a few minutes to download, but basically this is the exact command that you would run it. So this curl command in your terminal would, install the entire project in your computer somewhere. So you have to select a location, install the demo, and then this is basically, it's going to download this huge file list right here, which is the app and the routes and all of this stuff that's loaded in when you first download it. So
So when I download and open it up, it's gonna prevent this.
it's gonna pretty much look like this, exactly. And then this is how your Docker is gonna look like. So installs this little image so that you can run your demo locally. Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry, this. Oh, the URL. Yeah, you can go to the Laravel.
Is there a way for us to set the slideshow at home?
Yeah, I can share in the in the Slack channel, right, Zerlin? The Slack. Yeah. Yeah. So you can kind of go through here and and find the comments, but I'll share that in the Slack channel as well. And you can kind of see how it works. And I guess that's it. Does anybody have questions?
Show us migration.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was talking too fast. I did a controller. So here, generated one. It's here. So all your migrations are going to be in here. And this is for the little demo that I did. The command that actually creates this blank file, right? And then you define right here, schema creates the name of your table and the table properties right here. Okay. And then drop is the schema is usually the opposite of what you want to do it in case things go wrong. You can always roll back. But this right here created, I ran through this and it created this table for me. So list items table right here. So structure, there it is. So it runs through and it creates all the columns for you.
Can you run multiple migrations at a time, or you run them one by one?
No, if you run PHP Artisan migrate, it runs through all the migration and it creates a migration. There's a migration table by default that exists. And it basically has all the migrations that you've run on there. So you can, you could technically delete and roll back if something goes wrong and rerun the migrations. So it saves the migrations for you. So it's great for deploying applications. It works really well, in other environments. So you can just migrate things and it runs and inserts and modifies tables pretty well. So go ahead.
So you said that you primarily when you use blade views for your notifications or email, things like that.
Mhm.
That you more flat framework installed with it. Is there a performance difference between the blade view and like say Vue.js?
I think that from what I found out this week, the blades, they do compile into PHP code, and then they supposedly they add no overhead to your project because they're cached into the backend. So I would assume they're a little bit so a better performance, a little bit better performance than JavaScript, yeah. But they're a little bit limited to not limited, just kind of funky working with it, but it works for the mail and the notifications, yes.
What are some downsides of using PHP and Laravel?
Well, if you have to write everything from scratch, all of the stuff that's kind of built into Laravel, it's going to take you a lot longer to get an application up and running. So the benefits of using a framework is that, you know, it helps you get an application off the ground faster. It helps you keeps your code organized as well. So those are the two main benefits. But sometimes you are locked into how how the framework wants you to do stuff, and you have to work out of.
You have to talk about
Yeah, you kind of have to play by. Typically, you would have to play by the rules, and sometimes that doesn't always work. So, yes. Yeah.
Looking at that structure, it's very similar to like a database, kind of skip over the lot of stuff, the ORM stuff, the big stuff, the average database, controller stuff is basically like the UI of
Mm-hmm.
Typically, in C# it's called blades here, but it's called blades.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's basically it's all run server side. They know the server side compile and run, and spits out the HTML versus now client side in the browser as well. If you're using that's kind of different, probably is either running the server side or running the UI.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff we will do like UI is more like you have the nuance of React, you control the more of the API based on and not you could do the like the file stuff. Picture the view, but if you server side, that means you're probably going to do a lot more calls back to the server, more traffic going to the server to specific versus that's the client.
Yeah. Yeah, it all gets compiled into plain PHP. So main difference with C#, you don't have to compile it into run through a compiler, right? So you have PHP running. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the end is the same thing. So you have to reload, you know, you're gonna need some other sort of JavaScript in the front end to have something no reload. Yeah.
But I saw a lot of people going in around stuff, particularly it's like you have queries. Did you have it in terms of you think here you have to get stuff data and literally it's left grouping.
Yeah, I think it all gets compiled to plain SQL before it runs. So it works, you know, yeah. Everything, yeah. So there's like this helper function, whatever you want to call it, but it all gets compiled to SQL before runs anyway. So SQL, yeah.
You put all your code in the controller, like, you're gonna do something.
No, I keep most of the stuff in the model, and then some of the stuff in the controller, I guess. But a lot of the logic in the model, yeah.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. This was like a simple application, of course. Yeah, we do it differently in our own larger application. We create models and then sub-model services for those models. So we do split it up differently. I kind of wanted to run through a small, simple thing for people that haven't looked at it. Yeah.
Where I would create a template, HTML,
Uh-huh.
fill in, hello, requesting the follow, your name.
Yeah.
How to create their email.
Yeah, that's exactly how we do it. So all the blades are used for email templating and inheriting and inherits the client's layout, and then it sends it out. So I think I saw any other questions? Yes. I really haven't seen any performance issues with Docker. I just updated my computer. It was a little bit slow on the other computer. But I think Docker is working well now with the M1 chip, because I know it wasn't before and they had to push out a fix for it. But locally, I haven't seen any issues with Docker, so I'm kind of getting used to use that by default. But there may be, there may be some benefit about having it run, natively on your computer outside Docker. I'm sure there's some performance benefit, but my issue is that I don't work for one client, I work for multiple clients. So it's very hard to keep the projects running locally when I have to maintain multiple projects, and one client's in 5.6, PHP 5.6, the other one's in 7, the other one's in 8. And so Docker really helps, kind of takes that thinking out of the equation, the issue with the PHP versions. So. Yeah, it works. I forgot to put that in. It does work with SQL. We use it with Postgres out of the box, and it works with Maria. I think Maria is the one that they recommend. It's the number one that they recommend the most now. So it does work. I think it's 5 or 6 databases that they support now natively. So yes, any more? Yes.
So does it have no library of components for the HTML side that do this? And how do they handle the CSS?
So basically the templating engine inherits, or you can build plain HTML templates, So let me show, I can show you quickly how it came out of the box, how the view came out. So the views do work out of the box here. So with the HTML and CSS, and I'm sure you could link up, other CSSs and other things on there. This was the default view that came out with, and I'm sure, they originally came out with this thing. They're like, okay, people are definitely going to use this in the front end. But now with all the single page applications, you definitely want to move out of this and go into. And I really don't know how it would work, how React works out of the box with this. I know that we do it through an API, and we have a completely different front end framework. So we don't use these views for anything aside from email. Mm-hmm.
Basically, you see the HTML in the class, or the HTML, but then you would see something like an ad hoc or any other that, like, no one just, for someone that has to tell those policies, because that would fill in, individual parts, whatever. Well, this is on certified, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it does work. It's built to work. It does work, play nice with like React and other frameworks. I'm just not too familiar with it, how it would work, but I know it does work natively with different frameworks, with different JavaScript frameworks. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to talk. I think this is, oh, I don't know if I have questions on Zoom. Oh, you checked. Thank you. I really want to say thank you to Zarella. It's a wonderful group and they give, huh? Oh, great. No, it's fine. I think this is a wonderful group. So thank you, Zarella, for putting these meetings together and getting everybody comfortable and talking to each other, because we probably all spent way too much time behind the computer. So
for the ones that have been speakers from the group, just so you know, I noticed this is like where, you know, we're all staff and each other who's connected, and I often see the speakers getting towards the days that are like needed the whole week. So, you know, really thank you for doing this, because I know until you are actually a speaker, you won't really know how much work you have to talk together, how much practice you have to do. I know Amy has done it. John has done it, and really like a lot of work, because like you know, it looks like something that people are going to there. So really thank you for pointing out that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you
But
don't know.
it's
What do you want me to do?
right? Oh, it's because you're. Didn't it say recording in progress?
It did say yes.
So maybe it's on my other computer. Anyways, it's okay. So for the ones that are new, if you don't know, it's not raining anymore, is it? Doesn't seem like it, right? Is it raining? What does it look like outside? No? Okay, so we finished actually super early, so let's stay here like about, there's cookies, so please eat those cookies. We still have plenty of time, so maybe we spend like about 15 minutes here, 15 to 20 minutes here. And after that, we usually, what we like to do is we like to go downtown. We like to go and get together and just eat pizza, drinks, sodas, whatever you want. There's a taco place also right there. We always meet at the little courtyard, although it's probably wet, right? So we should probably eat inside.
Yeah, there's tables inside. We sat inside once.
Yeah, maybe we should sit inside.
At the pizza house, yeah, downtown pizza. Tables, yeah.
Right, so maybe we'll eat inside, unless it's not super wet, we'll just sit outside like we normally do, but I hope you can join us for that. But feel free to hang out here and just talk to each other. We have some music playing, but yeah, we'll make that call for everybody to start going over there when we're ready. Thank you. I think
Oh, real. Que? Eu falei super rápido, ridículo. Terminei o negócio, era para durar 1 hora, falei 15 minutos.
Tinha uma hora que você tava falando assim.
Good job. No, not good at this.
Did you learn anything? No. I come to these meetings, right? Yeah. I'm learning, I don't know, I'm just listening. Then later sometime I'm like doing something and they like talk about something.
Yeah.
I saw that part. I know what it is, you know?
And always like layer something.
Yeah.
Stick. So I'm sure.
I want to introduce Anthony to Crystal. I know. So how about the event? Did you get everybody signed up?
Which one?
Oh, you mean in November? Yeah, I thought, oh, November, I thought it was November 6th. What's the November 6th?
It's gonna be just the regular.
Ah, okay, I thought.
Event is November 1st. I don't have many events, like I don't have many, I know Arthur event, and I forgot what we're gonna do, because they have class, I think, so they have like, yeah, headsets, maybe they will show something. But I'm trying to get more, and there's one, ultimate education, they do like virtual reality, receive the semester. They'll be in VR,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to get them to, they say that they're engaged. Like, very popular, there's like several people. And that's the goal of one.
So that's.
Like there's Optimal Education Classical Academy. They do like an online version, actually, cool, and it will be in VR. They said they will come, but they can't get all the details, like I can't 100% confirm, and because it's being pushed to different people, and they can't like 100%.
Continue on or continue.
I just started working with Symphony. I know that.
Based on Symphony supposedly, huh?
I arrived there and it's my first time.
But where do you work at?
I'm working at CCP and Collier County.
Oh,
I am an intern.
uh-huh.
So it's been an opportunity.
Are you still studying? Did you finish studying or?
Yes, I actually finished some years ago. It was funny because somebody was playing a video for technical
Uh-huh.
and 10 years ago I was working with Java.
Uh-huh.
So then I switched and started working. But I had to make a break from it, so all of that stuff and I say no, I do it.